I see it's 6 o'clock. So whenever you're ready back there, I think we'll get started. I see Brian hopefully on Zoom. Give it another couple seconds just in case. Alright. Sorry as I choke. It being 6 o'clock, quorum of the members are present. There is also Brian on Zoom, myself, Jared, Skip, Tim, and Glenda in person. I'm gonna call the December 17th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission to order. First we'll do minutes, and then before we hit hearings, I'm gonna hit Ryan for 216 Wachusett real quick because he has another meeting to run to. So is there any comments or questions on the minutes? This is also being recorded for future broadcasting and being live on Zoom, YouTube, all that fun stuff.
Motion to approve is written.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Aye.
Ryan, there he is. Yeah.
Keenan, aye.
Williamson, aye.
Gentilucci, aye.
Brian?
York and I.
Thank you. And Dan's an aye. Alright, those are approved. Next order of business, so Brian from Bylaw Hedge about 216 Wachusett and expanding some fields, it sounds like, into one.
Yeah, so up there, if you're going up the driveway on the right, there's two small fields that are kind of aligned like that. So I'm just looking to basically kind of make them into a larger square, so it's going from like 2.128.
Hold on 1 second, sorry.
Yep.
Can you allow screen share please back there?
Oh, do you have them?
I'll put it up, yeah.
I printed some and then I printed one aerial and then my printer said that was enough ink, so.
You can keep going, I'll just wait.
So looking to blow it up a little bit more, just kind of square it off into roughly 6 acre, a little short of 6 acres total, just to kind of, the two fields are wonky, trying to just run equipment through and, yeah.
So these are the two fields, so
Yep.
basically squaring them off like this.
Yeah, this is
This little section.
This is like a rough, like just on mass map or kind of a shape.
I have it. Thank you.
So would be looking to cut the trees. There is that wetlands down below that I'm well aware of, staying outside of the buffer on, cut the trees, pull the stumps, we're gonna grind the stumps. Rock pick, rock rake, seed down to hay in the springtime.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You're gonna convert it to what's gonna be in the,
Hay field, so they're currently just two small ones.
it is in active hay production.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I did some rough measurements, everything seemed to be like just out of the 100.
Yeah.
So just being cognizant as you do it on the edges.
What about that wetland to the south of it?
Yeah, cause it's like, it's going that way. So this part isn't being touched, this already exists.
So only would be up, like above this point.
Yeah, so it's like here.
And then that wetland that you're
Okay.
the actual open pond down there is the fire pond that Chief Knight had said that their plan is to dredge it again in the spring time, so I might try and use some of the silt coming out of that for a little bit of topsoil and the stuff that we are pulling the stumps on.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, concerns?
Is that listed as an activity, a normal maintenance or a normal improvement?
So I think all the work is also outside of the buffer anyways. So some of it could be an improvement in terms of the squaring off of the fields. I think the clearing of trees would be more jurisdictional, but all of the tree removal is outside the buffer.
Okay, so there is a 100-foot buffer associated with this wetland,
Mm-hmm.
and you think it's out of there to also?
Yeah,
Okay,
just like it's about.
The square makes it go like look like it goes down a little bit further, but it would be a little bit more squared up than my.
okay. The only comment I have is, do you own the property in that triangular wedge piece?
Yes.
So that's yours also?
Yep.
Okay. So are you, you're surrounded by your existing farmland, yes?
Yes, so I own this, I own up to Overlook Road over there.
Okay.
So, and then this is my hayfield as well, which I'm not connecting to that, but that's just kind of
Okay, thanks.
perspective.
And then how soon before it would be stabilized?
Springtime.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Jared, I assume you have control of the map. Can you throw on the PVP and certified pools layer just to see?
Yeah,
Or is it you, Melissa? Sorry.
it's okay.
Well, like,
Which one is it under? Oh, this one.
Fish.
I would say there's nothing popping up.
Cool.
Actually, I'm seeing one on Mass Mapper.
why is that like dark spot, like, is that tree shadows?
Pool meaning vernal pool.
Vertical.
There's
Right in that east corner.
should be right here.
That's interesting.
So there's a road going down there. Melissa, I think when
Oh,
you
yeah,
came
yeah.
up last time.
We looked at it, cause that's where the pipe goes across.
Yeah.
That's terrifying, it's not coming up on the downs. It's fine.
Where's yours shown, Jared?
It's showing up, if you can move your
right
cursor,
here?
actually just up and to the left a little bit. I'll show you here. It's showing up right there
Oh, here?
on Mass Mapper. Yeah, right about there. Looks like that's outside the area.
Is it potential?
It's coming up as a certified vernal pool. So I think that one is.
Yeah, Heifer did that at one point.
Okay.
I think the confusion on Mass Mapper too, not that like we're looking to go in any closer on that side, but the confusion on Mass Mapper has it on the wrong side of the road as well.
We love that.
That's not helpful.
But so you're gonna be doing the work in the winter anyway,
And on this side.
yeah.
Right.
Do you mind just showing exactly what you're thinking of clearing, like maybe just point it out on that screen?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I
It's
can't,
basically like coming here. There's like there's a path right here, so
you want,
taking this straight down, keeping that, and then just going basically from the corner here and then up
Straight
to
down.
meet
Yeah,
this
okay.
edge.
that's what I was thinking, I just wasn't sure.
Any other questions? Okay, we don't need any formal votes on this, so unless anyone has some concerns or anything further they wanna discuss, we can say thank you.
Yeah, I was just more kind of trying to be.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. That we
What's the
would,
word?
when we get
Preemptive, preemptive.
What's the word?
It's one of those days. Okay,
Alright,
awesome, you're good.
thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Good night.
Good luck at your other one. Alright, so public hearings. I'm gonna reopen the public hearing for the notice of intent for 187 Pleasantdale Road. We had continued this solely just for a DEP number, which we have since received. The only comment was about if there are wetlands where the blueberry shrubs were. So, which we addressed kind of during the site visit, they're more cultivated blueberry bushes, they're not just, you know, high bush.
It looks upland.
Yeah,
From where?
so.
Those are all domesticated
Yeah.
plants that I planted on upland, yes.
So Tamika suggested adding it as just a finding of fact, which I totally agree with. And then I think the other erosion controls the other special conditions that we discussed last time, was the barriers, whether it's boulders or something different, to be placed along that limit of work between, starting at flag A and ending at flag A7, kind of in that line that we discussed last time, and 5 feet apart. And then kind of just a finding about the 18 inches of gravel around the structure, as we discussed last time. I don't think there was anything else specific for a condition. I was trying to look through the minutes, I didn't see any. Are there any other thoughts, questions, conditions?
What is that signature indicating?
That was where the blueberries bushes were.
It's just confusing. It comes outside that square.
Yeah, so they're ripping them out for this.
Okay.
So it's waiting for the DEP number.
Which we got.
You did get it
Yep.
all.
Yep, so it's just those conditions as we discussed last time, mostly about the boulders on the limit of work.
Removing the material that was pushed in there.
Oh, that's, yes, removing the material that was within the wetlands. Which I think you said you already removed,
What's that?
the debris that was in, behind the wetland flags?
We'll pull that back.
Yeah,
We said we'd pull that back, we would put boulders or something to
Yep.
restrain it at least every, no further than 5 feet apart.
perfect,
So the plow's gonna get through. I think that's what we discussed.
Yeah. perfect. Okay, anything else from commission?
Could we just get notified for an erosion control inspection
Sure.
once the silt fence is in? And one of us will go out.
Yes, that's fine. Right now, I'm debating, I think it's going to be like at the end of March.
Okay.
It's getting too late to get going, and then, in 10 days, I'm leaving for Florida for 3 months, so.
Fair.
I could have my son do it, but with the weather and everything, I'm gonna wait till March.
Okay.
I'll put the erosion and I'll give you a call in.
Perfect,
I might put the erosion before and give you a call, because I might wanna tear down that blueberry patch. So if I get the erosion in, I can tear down the blueberry patch, and I might do that before I leave.
okay,
Then that way there, if he did that much of it, and as long as I go through the building department, I could sort of stop prepping for the slab, that's gonna
Yep.
be there.
Yep.
I didn't order the building yet, cause I didn't, until I got final approval from everybody, so the building, and the building is a 6 to 8 week delivery, so I'll order it maybe sometime in January.
Are there any members of the public here who wish to speak on this before we close? If so, you can unmute. I don't see anyone coming off. Alright,
I have one question.
yes,
Tell me again what you said the barrier would be. We had talked at one time about wattles, and we talked about silt fence. Which one is it that's gonna be asked for?
I think,
silt fence,
I think it was just silt fence. It was in the minutes.
yeah, silt
Very
fence.
flat area.
I think it was just black siltation fencing.
Yeah.
As long as it's
Yeah.
entrenched properly,
Entrench, yeah.
you know how to do that.
Yes, we do. And it a few hundred times. We have the little mini excavator which can dig a nice
Do the
slot,
wedge.
put it in, slap it over so that it holds it up there.
Perfect,
Great.
okay. If there are no other questions, I'll take a motion to close first, public hearing.
Motion to close.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor by roll call?
Clock eye.
Keenan, I.
Wims and I.
Gentilucci, aye.
Ryan, if you're there? Give it a second. Nope. Okay, Dan's aye, so public hearing is closed. Is there a motion to issue the order of conditions with our standard specials and ones as discussed tonight?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor by roll call?
Clock eye.
Keenan, I.
Wims and I.
Gentilucci, aye.
Dan's aye. Brian's off and on. we'll let him.
Yorkland, aye. I'm back.
Okay.
So I can install that silt fence wherever I want.
Yep,
Okay,
yep, definitely.
I'm all set.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you. Tamika will be in
Thank you.
touch.
Have a good winter if I don't see you.
You too.
You too, in Florida.
And happy holidays.
Yeah, in Florida. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Alright, we had a public hearing for notice of intent for 13 Lantern Lane. So this was coming out of a conversation at the last meeting. We agreed that a notice of intent would be the applicable path forward for this work. This is kind of like a manufactured home on slab. We do not have a DEP number yet. Is there anyone who's here on behalf of 13 Lantern? There's no one in the audience in person? No? Okay. Tim, you went out and did the ECB inspection.
Yes.
Would you just do a quick summary of that if you don't mind?
Everything looked the same. Now, it doesn't look like any work has taken place since we were last there. The silt fences and walls were installed, like I see by the pictures, the silt fence was not trenched in. The flap was flapping. But there was no evidence of any runoff at all from the site. And we had just had that rain on the Wednesday. But, and the wattles are installed, they are overlapping about a foot, they're staked in.
Alright, so maybe just have Tamika reach out to the contractor to trench in that silt fence. Just
Yeah, or at least secure that flap.
mhm.
Better.
Okay.
It can't hurt. And I did see remnants of an old silt fence, like that was kind of
Buried
buried,
Mm.
bowled
from
over.
2005,
Probably.
probably.
Yeah, it was shown on the original plans.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could barely see, I just saw
Yeah.
little remnants of it a little bit back beyond, so
Okay.
there was some up there previously.
Yeah, I remember seeing that a few weeks ago when we went to.
Yeah,
this is probably the old one.
and I did take a walk up to where you were, Glenda, had some concern about
That
stuff
BBW
that
there?
possibly had been dumped or
Yeah, like mums in that.
created, was into that area up there, and nothing's taken place, I mean, as far as removal,
Removing.
or, cause we did have a slight, small
Yeah.
conversation with her about trying to clean that up, or at least stop that work.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, so just kind of circling back on the silt fence, did we have any questions on that application at this point? You know, it's pretty much exactly what we talked about the last meeting. I didn't.
I'm good.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who has any questions or comments about this application for 13 Lantern Lane? Otherwise, we will continue to our next meeting, cause we need a DEP number. Which would be January 7th?
I think that's right. Yeah. Check.
Yeah, cause the 31st
Yes,
is next Tuesday.
January
Okay. Should be January 7th. Gosh. Alright, if there's no other
I'm really hungover, so.
questions or comments, I have a meeting in a second. Is there a motion to continue till our next scheduled meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
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 Okay, all those in favor? I think it's just me talking.
Echo.
Ryan, can you mute you real quick? Sorry.
Yep.
Alright, roll call.
Clock eye.
Keenan, I.
Williamson, I.
Gentillucci, aye.
Now you can vote, Brian.
Yorkland, aye. Going on mute.
Thank you. And Dan's a aye. Alright, that is continued until January 7th. Alright, so request for certificate of compliance from ZPT Energy, 90 Bushy Lane. So this is a request for an invalid certificate of compliance, I believe, cause work has not commenced, nor is it going to commence. It sounds like someone new has purchased it and they're not looking forward, not looking to move forward with the solar. So since no work, we can issue an invalid saying the permit's closed out, They can't do anything unless they reapply, basically. So,
So that whole project is off?
90 Bushy, yes. Any questions or comments on that? Otherwise, I'd accept a motion for an invalid COC.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor by roll call?
Clock eye.
Keenan, I.
Williamson abstain.
Gentilucci, aye.
Brian?
York and I.
And Dan's a aye. Alright, Dan's that is issued and Tamika can send that out. Alright, so the only other business for tonight was discussion about wetlands bylaw. So wanted to get some initial thoughts on what you had looked through, if you looked through any of the bylaw documents that we put up there, other towns and communities, if there was anything specific that jumped out at you, some things that you do or definitely didn't want. Otherwise, I kind of have a couple, I guess, hot topic things that we can talk about to get us started.
Are we gonna go back to these two, rice lemon and erosion at the dam?
We can do those now. Do you wanna do those now?
Do you mind?
No, because I'll probably forget if we don't. Yes, so before we get to that,
Can
other
we? Yeah.
business that came in was Bryce Lemon and what was the second one?
Erosion at the dam.
The erosion at the dam. Which one do you wanna talk about first?
Is Tamika on?
She is.
Can she?
I'm here, Glenda.
Tamika, can you just give us an update on the erosion at the dam thing from the beginning, please?
Yes. So Glenda and I had talked shortly after the last meeting, and she had observed that there were some erosion concerns down at the dam, and it appeared that the construction was basically done. So she asked if I would reach out to Mass DOT to inquire about it, which I did. I heard back from Roger Roger Whites with Mass DOT, that he was aware, he had observed the issue himself. And then I believe it was last week, they were going in to reinforce the erosion control barriers and clean up anything that was in that area. And that was the last I heard, was that they were taking care of that. Mr. Warrington at 69 Palmagussit Road did come in last week to state that some of it had washed onto his property, but he indicated that he had spoken with Roger earlier that morning. So they had been in direct communication with one another, and so that's where we landed basically.
Okay. I think they said that they were gonna finish that restabilization work yesterday. So we could ask for an update on that, what if everything had been completed.
Okay, and do we have any photos? Didn't Mr. Warrington, what were the photos of the erosion that came from the dam area? Or the stuff, the sediment he cleaned up?
No, yeah, so the photos were the post photos that the commission had requested after he finished cleaning the sediment on his own property. He indicated that he did have photos of the erosion, but he did not provide them to us.
Okay. Should we look at the sediment he cleaned up photos then?
Did we look at those last meeting or?
No, I
No,
don't think so.
they're- We have those photos or he just show them to you, Tamika?
No, I added them to the property address folder, and I think I put them in their own folder within that just said like
Okay.
sediment photos or something like that.
Can you remind me what his address is? I'm blanking.
69 Palmagussit.
Thank you. There. So is this one? Too many things open. little blurry.
These are supposedly after,
No, these are before.
No, these are after he.
These are
cleaned it up.
after removal.
supposedly they're after.
Oh, okay.
I'd say you could probably still see a little bit at the bottom, but that might not be terrible. Well, it looks like, I can't tell if that's a shadow or.
Yeah. But we should probably, I'll just have a site inspection out there. Check it out.
Yeah. Alright, we can have, do we wanna schedule a date for Tamika to propose to the homeowners so they know we're coming?
It's just, I have no time. I would like to look at it, but like,
Or maybe just asking, if he doesn't mind if we go one by one,
yeah,
just to take a quick look at it.
yeah. That would be good.
Alright. Tamika, would you mind reaching out to Mr. Warrington?
Sure thing.
I think he was going to initiate some cleanup down on his property. The last one we had that site visit out there. And after that, what was the plan? Was he waiting on DOT or was he?
Cause we technically still have the enforcement order open, so is he, do you know, Tamika, if he's still planning to work, I think it was with Mark Albag, to submit some sort of plan?
So when at the last meeting, it was said that I can't remember if it was said verbally or in an email that he did not have any intentions to work on the dam at this time. So he wasn't planning on moving forward. He was just going to work to get the sediment cleaned up and then leave things as they are for now.
Right, okay. That's coming back to me. So I guess that's just us continuing to follow up to make sure that the sediment removal is to our satisfaction.
Before 1/7.
Cause it's kind of like a two-part thing, cause there's the
Yeah.
DOT work, if that's negatively impacting his property, then we still have to address that with DOT.
Yeah.
But the sediment that was disturbed because of the work that he did, we just need to
Yeah,
follow up with
We
him,
probably need to follow up on the enforcement order.
right,
yeah.
Which
That
is
would
the
be a-
sediment,
That would be
yeah.
a part of the site visit. would
Yep.
be looking to
kinda close it out.
close that out.
Yeah, yes.
Get that off of his shoulders, I guess.
Yep,
And then at the same time, we can see if they've done any stabilization below the dam.
Yeah.
On his side of the property.
so between now and our next meeting, goals of us, if the homeowner's okay, kinda going out intermittently, individually, to take a look at it, so that at our next meeting, we can make a determination if there's anything further and or we can close out the enforcement order.
To me, you can almost stay on that road behind, that goes up behind.
That's true.
That's where,
If you don't get shot.
what else is down there? Oh, Hunters?
Supposedly, you're not supposed to go access from Miles Road.
Oh.
Because
There's
that's a
there's
private road.
There's a section of it that
Is,
I think is private,
Police
it's hard to
says-
tell.
Okay.
The man doesn't want people walking past.
That's the other end though, so the section near Palmagussit, I believe is still considered public way.
Okay.
That is.
Yeah, so you could go in that way,
That's
just,
what I was thinking,
just don't go all the way
because it was
down.
mainly behind the house, across that road.
And then where the culvert
Yeah.
goes under the
Along
road.
the side of the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think all that's
Right.
still considered public way, so
Okay.
we should be okay there.
but still keeping them in the know to know that we're still looking at
Yeah.
it, et cetera.
So Tamika, could we have somebody from DOT come to our January 7th meeting? To give us an update on what's going on with the dam and drainage and stuff?
So I can certainly try. I did extend an invitation for this meeting. I got an out of office for Tracy Capilotti, and I didn't hear, specifically one way or the other from Roger, so I'll give it another shot for January.
Yeah, maybe Tracy or even that Adele. I think that's her
I
name,
saw
Adele.
Tamika forwarded the email from Roger that did have a picture.
Yeah.
Looks like they put some erosion control blankets on the embankment. It's probably worth it for us to,
Which date was that one?
that was Monday, December 9th, 11:02 AM.
Oh, got it, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
There are too many things to handle at once. So this photo.
Okay, yeah,
I
that,
think there was more that they were gonna do.
yeah, the area I was concerned was like the flat area right before it transitioned into the pond,
Yeah,
what used to be a pond.
Yeah.
But that's good, that's great, they have the slope done. Looks like they put a bunch of riprap.
Oh, over here. Yeah, because this is the culvert.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
Alright, so another update. And then
Something with
Bryce Lemon, we got an email from Alan Rantle at DCR, talking about dewatering, or improper dewatering, I guess is the better way to put it. Let me share these. So here are some photos from the, sounds like from the crossing. They installed a dewatering pipe at the crossing because their footings were getting flooded. Unfortunately, the way they did it probably could have been handled better, and they didn't run it by us or DEP. So you can kind of see it's a little,
Good
little
Lord.
schmucky
What the heck? What footings, first of all, are they talking about?
for the crossing.
Oh,
So it sounds like there's a meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. with Tom, assuming Tom Larson and DEP on site. I don't know if anyone can make it, I'll be at work, but if not, I think it would be good to have, if Alan doesn't mind sending us a follow-up afterwards with what was decided. 'Cause this isn't the one we just reapproved, is it? Or is this the one that DEP holds? I don't know
This
what
is-
crossing this is.
I think this is us now.
This is us now?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty sure.
'Cause that's the only crossing left, right?
I believe
Is the
so.
one we just permitted?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we really should be involved. Alright,
what do I have going on
I mean, it's,
Oh, yeah, meetings.
life is life.
Yeah.
But if, especially, well, it's
know what
more
you
like
mean.
if this is our local jurisdiction,
Yeah.
then not only did they not run it by DEP, but they didn't run it by us too. So we have a little
Right.
bit more of a leg of enforcement, not that we never do, but
Yeah.
if we hold this now locally as well.
So why is this a problematic, do you think?
Because of that.
Oh. Geesh.
Isn't that area, I'd have to look at the plans, but
That looks like a
I thought the
mess.
area in between the silt fences that they installed, part of that is resource area, isn't
Yeah,
it?
because that's the whole part of the crossing, right?
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if they had like, if they have a sump pump in there and is then,
Because they had to have, it looks like they're,
Right?
they're pumping it,
Probably.
it's elevated so much.
Problem is they're just pumping it into the resource area.
right,
They need to pump
That's
it
the
into something
discharge,
else,
it said.
a tank or,
That's the discharge?
That's the discharge end there,
Okay.
and the other picture must be the inlet.
Oh, boy.
I'm not quite sure what they're,
Well, it's basically bypassing the,
yeah,
it's bypassing the erosion control.
so we put fill in to dam it up and go through. I guess then instead. So there's no water going.
So if none of
On
us
the
can
ground?
make it
So-
tomorrow, then we're gonna have to get rely on Alan.
Which I think is fine, and we can also, oh my god, I'm gonna stop sharing because things are going haywire. So Tamika, if you don't mind responding to Alan, and maybe even copying, I don't know who's gonna be there at DEP, someone from DEP, whether it's Kim Roth or I think Becky has been the one that's been commenting on these. Kind of just with a summary follow-up afterwards. And then we can go from there. If there's any immediate action that needs to be done by us, then we can address as needed. All right. Anything else about Bryce Lemon? It's weird. Alright, so let's get back to the bylaw. The fun stuff. Is there anything specific that you guys that you saw that you wanna talk about first, or?
I kinda like the Spencer one, I was looking at that. Other than us adding some of our definitions, I know we have one that started, kinda needs to just be completed, but I like the way Spencer was, and it seems to be somewhat similar in town. I'm sure they don't have as much building going on as us, but I kinda like the way it was worded. I kinda liked, like, under jurisdiction, how it kinda gave out certain footages, so people, I mean, it's not just builders that, you're gonna have homeowners that really don't understand it, and it just kinda helps them
Yep.
spell it out a little bit.
Yeah, so they're telling the 100-foot buffer, basically.
Yeah, no,
That's
did they
their-
really extend anything in that one?
That's their buffer section.
I don't know, I think I was
Do they have
thinking-
a no disturb zone? Like a 25-foot mandatory
I
setback?
didn't see it, and I think that would have been in their jurisdiction.
If they do, it'd probably be in their regs, not in their bylaw.
And I think that's the one I couldn't find them regs for.
It did
Oh, no, I
define
did.
jurisdiction pretty well. Oh, they did do a buffer zone to.
25-foot no touch
flooding.
zone.
Yeah,
Special conditions.
yeah, yep, they have a 25 no touch. So I guess, like, what I was thinking of trying to nail down tonight, not necessarily nail down, but start to think about, was especially that jurisdiction aspect of it, in terms of, are there other resource areas that we want to include? Such as, like, Spencer has bordering land subject to flooding, has a 100-foot buffer, where under just the Wetland Protection Act, there's none. A lot of communities also include isolated vegetated wetlands. Some have like a caveat in there that's kind of like a case-by-case basis, cause some isolateds are really small and
Useless.
useless.
Some-
I know, I
some
hate
dug
to
a
say it's
hole.
useless, but it is useless.
They don't serve much of a purpose
Right.
from a wetlands perspective.
So you can always say at the discretion,
Yeah,
Yeah,
discretion.
Definitely want, like, ILSF, because remember the one we looked at for Julian, Irish Lane?
yeah.
Like, that was a nice forested isolated wetland. Like, that's something we would definitely wanna protect, but
yeah.
should we, so you guys don't think we should have like a square footage or area requirement?
For what?
ILSF,
ILSF
It
is
already
already
has
protected.
one.
or I
Yeah.
mean,
You're talking isolated vegetated wetland, IVW?
just an isolated wetland.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, I mean, you could have a minimum, or you could kind of do, which I think we have in Southborough, it kind of states that like, IVWs will be, kind of on a case-by-case basis,
Okay. But then they don't really, like, if they're reading our bylaw, how do they design it? If they
So-
don't know if it has a buffer or not, I guess is my
So,
question.
right, so that's the if we wanna put a buffer to IVWs, so they would propose it to us as an IVW. And or come to us with some sort of ANRAD. You know, so in Southborough, we have isolated vegetative wetlands will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis for jurisdiction based on the ability of the area to contribute to the interests of the act, basically.
Okay.
So for those smaller ones, you know, they could probably put it on a plan, but we could agree that, you know, maybe replication doesn't need to happen for that particular one.
Right.
But we still wanna note that its existence.
Yeah, I like that. Leave it up to the discretionary
Bodies, yeah.
type of thing for isolated veg. BLSF, the 100-foot buffer on the BLSF, like Holden has that, but like it's never really made a
Does it come up
difference,
often?
but I don't think it'll hurt to throw a 100-foot buffer on BLSF.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Especially with, I think, cause we have a lot of major riverways too.
Yeah.
It could, I mean, I feel like a lot of them are DCR protected anyways, but
Yeah, probably.
I think that also plays into like the floodplain management as well. A lot of the new standards for the FEMA, the
yeah.
NFIP, the flood insurance program, like
Yeah.
you have to look at it, make sure there's no net loss. And that's even kind of extending out more than just the regulated floodway.
Do we want a 25-foot no disturb zone?
Huh?
What?
What'd you say?
I said I agree.
Oh.
To what, I don't know.
That's fine.
Over my head, I said, some of these terms.
The land subject to flooding stuff.
Well, all the abbreviations, that
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah.
not up to speed on all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah,
But keep going.
at any time, stop us and go, excuse me. Yeah, cause a lot of like the floodplain aspect is just so, not to say it's convoluted, but it can be difficult, cause there's so many different zones and acronyms and, so like the bordering land subject to flooding, or BLSF, is typically the 100-year flood, or is the 100-year floodplain. So that, under the Wetlands Protection Act, doesn't have a buffer zone, but a lot of communities add that 100-foot buffer zone to the FEMA floodplain to just be even consistent with other wetlands, cause they, with the flood storage and capacity, with things getting, like water levels getting higher, but also just localized flooding and things like that, we found it's important to look at farther than the regulated floodway to make sure you're not taking up anticipated, you know, net storage as things get higher.
Right.
I think it's good to have. I found it doesn't become, like, it's not burdensome on an applicant or the commission, cause it typically overlaps with other resource areas anyways.
Yeah.
It extends our jurisdiction, but it doesn't necessarily prevent somebody from doing work in that area.
Correct.
Right.
It's,
It's just more so we're aware of it.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And it would be a buffer zone, it wouldn't be like
right.
a resource area, like Riverfront is. Riverfront, that whole 200 feet is technically a resource area.
Would we apply a buffer zone to bordering land subject to flooding and isolated land subject to flooding?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be in favor of that too.
I would say 100 for both.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep. What did we say, did we say anything about buffer zone for isolated vegetated wetland?
I think it should have 100.
I think it should have 100 too.
And then, but still that case by case, so if it's a tiny little
Right.
hole in the ground,
We can say, yeah, it's fine.
have fun.
Yeah, right.
Do what you want.
But still, thank you for coming to us.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Or if it is more a significant isolated wetland, then we'll
Right.
say,
What else is
okay,
in Spencer?
You should keep
it is
it.
protected, there
Yeah.
is a buffer zone, and
It's just, to me, it read.
might have to go through.
So I'm gonna ask you this question. So there's a brook running down through your property. Beavers get in there, dam it up and flood out 30, 40 acres. Now, is that considered wetlands now? It is now, but I mean, how do I wanna put it, how do you maintain your property without,
Well, beavers are its own entity too, cause they have their different regulations, so when it
Oh, I
becomes a
don't know
nuisance
that.
species, then like, the beaver removal aspect comes into it. If it's just a natural progression throughout time, and like it has hydric soils and wetland vegetation, then it's a wetland. It won't, just flooding, even if it's there for 2 years, won't necessarily make it a wetland. It takes a little bit longer. So I think in that aspect, and if it's becoming an impact or a public health concern, then those aspects take precedence. So we'd still allow for those exemptions, essentially.
As long as they go through the proper permitting.
Yeah.
Through the Board of Health or whatever.
Yep.
So, in Holden, we can protect intermittent streams whether they drain a higher resource area or not. And it doesn't matter, they don't have to be bordering. We don't normally, just like the upper end of an intermittent channel doesn't have a higher wetland, we usually don't claim jurisdiction on it. But that's one of the things, if you guys wanna claim intermittent streams.
Why wouldn't intermittent streams already be protected?
So they're not protected unless they're draining a higher wetland. And of course I left my regs in my office.
So it's not just BOW?
Or if they have BBW, the portion within the BBW's jurisdictional.
Oh, so you're not talking about like intermittent in terms of USGS intermittent? Talking about like,
So like say you have, I explained this to you, Jared, the other day, remember?
Yep.
You have an intermittent stream that just pops out of the ground from groundwater,
yeah,
but there's no BBW along it.
okay,
But then all of a sudden down here, it goes through, there's bordering vegetated wetland.
yep,
It doesn't become jurisdictional until it enters the BBW.
okay,
This part's not jurisdictional.
cause it's
If-
isolated.
If there was a wetland up here,
Yeah, I get what you're saying, okay,
then you claim jurisdiction on the whole thing.
It has to be fed from a wetland resource area.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, like, we're not, obviously wouldn't probably, on a drainage ditch, wouldn't claim jurisdiction unless it's draining to like drinking water.
How is that worded in your regs?
The intermittent,
Yeah,
I think it's at the very beginning where it talks about bordering on the first page of the reg. It has to be
in your
bordering
regs,
on. Yeah, there's diagrams of it in the MACC handbook. I have some written information from Judy. I forget what I sent you, Jared.
You sent me. This is from. Looks like there's something, it's either from MACC or UMass.
I sent you the diagram, right?
well,
You
it's the
did.
handbook,
The
yeah,
diagram was
Yeah.
super handy.
Yes, it is. Cause it had stream, wetland, and it showed that the first section was not legally a stream.
yeah,
And everything from the first wetland all the way down would be considered a stream. Yeah, that was helpful.
So we could put in the bylaw.
okay. Yeah,
To you guys if you want
I get what you're
intermittent.
saying now. Okay. Does that have a word for what's up there? Like, what do you call that? Can't call it an intermittent stream, cause that already has a definition in the WPA, cause it's intermittent versus perennial.
Mm-hmm.
So what the heck do you call it?
Which portion of it you mean?
Drainage
The
channel.
upstream, yeah,
I don't know.
overland flow
Yeah,
that discharges to,
Jesus.
Okay, I get what you're saying, yeah.
What other resource areas are we forgetting about?
Vernal pools.
Oh yeah, vernal pools. How do you guys currently deal with vernal pools?
We don't. Well, because you were just under the act, so, so we don't, you know what I mean? Unless they touch it.
Yeah, so the Holden one is the vernal pool or resource area is the pool itself. And then mean annual high water line to 100 feet out. So the pool and 100 feet out is the vernal pool resource area.
Oh, so the whole thing is a resource area,
Yes.
not just a buffer,
And then we have an additional 100-foot buffer.
from the resource area. Fancy.
So
That's
you're
a lot.
talking 200 feet.
200 feet.
From the vernal pool, yeah.
Say that again, Glenda? It's,
So the vernal pool, mean annual high water or whatever,
yep,
high water or whatever.
Yep.
Oh, here we have echo. And then go 100 feet out. That's the vernal pool resource area.
oh, so you define the edge of the vernal pool as 100 feet out from the mean annual high water line.
Essentially.
Interesting,
That's the, and then
Okay.
additional 100,
100-foot buffer beyond that,
unless, you know, there's BBWs in there, then you can keep going forever.
right? Right, wow.
Shut the whole development
On
down.
and on. Brian, did you have something? This is usually his,
The vernal pool?
yeah, there he
I'm
is.
trying to unmute here. So this is certified vernal pools, correct? Not
So
potential?
you could put either. Cause you could put it as such that it's, as long as it's a certifiable vernal pool.
There have to be, it has to meet the criteria for NHESP, like,
Right.
you have to have at least like wood frog eggs in it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be a natural heritage certified
Certified
pool as of the time of submission.
Okay, perfect. Could we put something in there saying that if there's something that we identify as a, you know, potential pool, that they should seek certification?
That usually, we could do that in our conditions. Like I do frequently at work is when we come up with an area that look like it appears to be a certifiable vernal pool, by the next vernal pool season, they have to submit applicable and complete data to Natural Heritage to certify it with evidence submitted to the commission. So I don't
You
think
guys are
it's,
strict over there, aren't you?
so I don't think it's something we need to put in the bylaw, but at least gives us a little bit more teeth because it's a resource area.
I have the wording that we could use.
For the vernal pool stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's also wording where people can ask for a waiver to the 25-foot.
I guess that's my next question. Do we wanna have a no-touch zone? Cause we've been doing, do we do 15 or 25?
We've been asking for
Policy,
25.
25?
Yeah. It's been our request.
Could meet in the middle and do 20.
I'm okay with 25.
I like 25.
25. And that too, they can always request a waiver. And like properties that are already in existence, obviously those, not to say they get treated differently, but they do get certain allowances
Right.
based on the project, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's maintain lawn or whatever.
Yeah. Once the bylaw goes into effect, it's not retroactive, it is only proactive. I wanna make that very clear. It's only things moving forward.
Yes. And then vernal pool.
What else?
We'd also talked about creating a zone of no impervious area.
No impervious or no
Yeah.
structure?
No, well, no structure is what it's usually referred to as.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about last time.
Yeah. I've run into that in a few towns and cities.
Yeah, what do towns do for those? Like
I've
50?
I've seen 30. I think I've seen 30 and 50
From the wetland boundary?
from the wetland boundary. A lot of them have a no disturb zone, maybe like 15 to 25, and then a no structure zone, it's either 30 or 50, is what I've seen.
Wow.
But they allow lawn within that area, just not,
Lawn is fine, no structure zone means essentially nothing impervious,
Nothing impervious.
no roof, no pavement. A lot of times I've run into, not an issue necessarily, but they'll even say they don't want things like riprap. They'll consider that to be structure.
so that include like patios and such too.
Yes. It would, yeah,
So anything accessory like to the house, sheds,
Yeah.
pools?
yeah.
Mm,
I don't know about
like
that one.
It's definitely harder to do. Or not harder for us to do, but
Well,
for
I
others.
was talking with Tamika one day, and I was asking her for the first go around, like to get this approved at town meeting, should we chill out a little bit the first time and then like next year go for more? Like, should we put fees in like the first go around?
So fees should be in the regs,
Yeah.
so don't even need to worry about fees.
Right, but you have to put it in the bylaw
You
that
just-
you have local filing fees.
Yeah,
The
You just
bylaw
have to
gives
put
us the
one
ability
sentence
to
Yeah.
create,
saying
to set the
that
fees.
there are fees
Yes.
and see the regs.
And it's usually the same with things like no disturb zones, is those don't have to be in the bylaw. We just give ourselves, the bylaw gives us the power to enact the regulations that have those specifics in them.
Okay. Do we have to specifically state, like, in the bylaw, like,
so the bylaw the specific things that we should include in the bylaw is what our resource areas are in their buffer zones. To get what all the totality of the area that we are jurisdictioning over.
jurisdictioning? I like that word.
And then, cause then the regulations will further, holy moly, will further define what we would allow or disallow within those areas.
Okay. So the
And
regs
how-
get more specific, okay.
Right, and how we would then accept like applications and fees and,
Okay, but I don't know. I just don't know if we should throw everything in there
In the
for
bylaw?
the first town meeting.
No,
we
you're
don't
just
have
doing a
to.
bylaw, you're not
Yeah.
doing the regs.
Cause I was looking at like the actual bylaws, I feel like it's 50-50 split of the ones who put their no touch within the bylaw and those who don't, and they just put it in the regs, like Spencer just had it in the regs.
Well, but people have to look at the bylaw and the regs, right?
I mean,
We should,
technically,
yes.
no, but yeah, we should have at least a good understanding or a draft of regs when we go to town meeting, so that people aren't just gonna say, oh, it's just gonna sit there. Cause you can have a bylaw all you want, you can't do anything with it until you have regs,
Okay.
so it's kinda useless. Up
Really?
until then.
Yeah, okay. I just, I don't want it to get shot down because they're gonna feel like we're overreaching.
I mean, it's always a chance, right? I think, and it always depends what the makeup of town meeting is.
Yeah,
I feel like if we get the average, like if we get more, I hate to call them average citizens, but average residents, I think they would be pretty favorable to a wetlands bylaw. You know, if we have a really small town meeting, then it could fail epically, but it's like, you know, it's always a risk, but then at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we'll learn from it, and the next go
Yeah.
around, we can understand what the questions or concerns were, address them, do more education the next time, and away we go.
yeah. So no structure zones, I don't know, that's up, either way's fine with me, whatever you guys want.
At least I think if we're gonna do a no touch, doing the 25 would be good. I think I'm okay either way on the no structure for now.
I feel like if we did have a no structure, it shouldn't be 50, I think that's,
Too
I
much.
just think
I think
that's
that's
excessive.
Too much for
There's some
here.
small lots, like small A&R lots, you're basically saying your lot's unbuildable.
Yeah, that's what.
Possibly,
Well,
yeah.
it's like, and that's where I think we'd be getting into a lot of, right, of those discussions of pre-existing homes that are well within the 50 already and they wanna put a shed in their backyard. Like, I would hope we would issue the waiver for that, but like, it becomes okay, if we are just issuing a waiver every single
Right.
application,
What's the point of having a no disturb zone?
then when it comes to
Right.
the time that we're gonna be like, no, you're in the no structure, they're gonna be like, well, you issued it 300 other times.
I see a no structure zone as a way to prevent,
Creep.
well, in my mind, it's more to prevent new development, new houses
Yeah.
being like 20 feet from a wetland.
Yeah.
To me, if that's all you can do with a lot, then in my opinion, you shouldn't be putting a house on the lot. If it's gotta be that close to a wetland resource area, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, would 30-foot no structure be reasonable then?
At
see,
that
I don't
point,
know,
like, what's
I
the
don't know.
difference between 25 and 30?
I know. But no structure,
It's something that we don't have to decide, I guess, think about it until
Yeah.
the 7th. I think I really wanted to get a better understanding of everyone's feeling
right,
about what we wanted to get for jurisdiction,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah,
Cause that's really going beyond jurisdiction,
okay,
at least I think. I think that's
'Cause
gonna end up in our
Could-
regs.
Right, that could
Okay.
just be in our regs, which
Yeah.
technically does not need town meeting vote once our regs
Right.
are in place. It's
Okay.
just a vote of the majority of the commission, which is
We would need,
terrifying at the same time.
well,
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, right,
Yeah, we would need like public meetings to go
Yeah.
over the regs
yeah.
and get public comment and all that, but
But-
the process is a little bit.
Reality,
easier.
people could say, I hate it, and
Yeah.
be like, oh, well,
Yeah.
too bad.
Yeah, no, that's true.
so,
Alright, so I think at least the collective understanding is that most of the resource areas that aren't currently protected under the act, we would like to include, and ones that do not have buffer zones, creating them the 100-foot buffer zone consistent with the other areas.
Mhm.
And a 25 no touch. It doesn't have to be in the bylaw, but
Yeah.
so I didn't see what you put together,
I didn't, I
Did
just
you-
threw a bunch of stuff on the,
were you gonna put a bunch of stuff in the folder?
yeah, so I did
didn't-
that.
I didn't look in there, I didn't have
So
time.
this is what was, had been started.
This is what Peter did,
I think so, yeah. Is that
And it's
what-
like, we don't have to, we can start anew.
It's basically the same format.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's there, it's just a matter of tweaking it a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I could see adding some definitions.
And I
I
wouldn't
know, I
go,
thought we had a lot more definitions than some of the other towns. I think
Yeah.
we did good there, but like I said,
well, it's cause you don't ironically need a crap ton of definitions.
Yeah.
Nor do you sometimes want all of them in the bylaw, cause you want the ability to change them if things change. And also a lot of things are already defined in the WPA, so like, leave it alone, so you don't screw it up by yourself.
I see the bylaw as a way to expand our jurisdiction beyond the WPA, what it gives us, and to basically define our powers.
Yeah,
You know, things like waivers, being able to grant waivers if we want to. Being able to have local fees, local fines.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Wow.
What was the other thing I was thinking of? There's something else now,
Yeah.
escaped my brain.
I mean, just better conditions in general, enforceable better conditions.
yeah,
And to be able to move with time.
Mhm.
Instead of being so stagnant with the WPA.
Yeah.
A lot of communities are moving towards more of like, and it depends how much in the nitty gritty we wanna get in the regulations, like a lot have like, there are really strict towns where it's like tree replacement policies, it's like 2 to 1, it's like not a terribly large amount of them do it. I think Spencer had some, they had more like tree language than a lot of other towns, but it's things that we always wanna think about or that we continue to talk about, but would finally have an ability to like enforce or
Replication ratio.
replication
That's
ratios,
another
oh yeah, 2 to 1,
2 to 1.
I've seen 4 to 1 in some
Oh,
places.
wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of space.
That's pretty strict.
wow,
Yeah, it's tough.
Um,
I'm not in favor of that, I'm
but
just.
so
I'm
many
just
of them
saying.
fail. I feel like 2 to 1's fair.
2 is fair.
2 to 1's fair.
Because you're ruining a natural wetland and
Yeah.
you're just like trying to make a new one, like,
With 2 to 1, your chances of actually replicating the area of fill, it's pretty good.
yeah, cause they never do, when they do 1 to 1, it's always under.
It is, yeah, cause it's not all gonna take, you're gonna get, I
You
don't know.
measure and it turns out to
You
be,
get 75-80% to
Right,
take, that'd be great, but that
3
means it's gonna
quarters.
be 0.8 to 1 in the end,
yeah. I like 2 to 1.
yeah.
It makes sense. Okay.
Helps
Um,
discourage some fill too,
So can we,
cause it's expensive.
can we add stuff to this folder ourselves?
I
Or do we need to
believe
send it to Tamika to have her add it?
I don't know, you can try it. If it doesn't work, send it to Tamika.
Okay,
I mean, I know she gave me permission because I was doing all the property address stuff. I don't know if everyone else does either.
but normally, like, she would be the administrator, she's
I
the
have
only
an
one that.
upload button,
So yes, I would say yes, you can add things.
You can upload stuff?
yeah,
Yeah.
there's an upload button, files and folders, you can upload.
Sweet.
I haven't actually tried to upload it, but the option comes up.
Usually you can just click and drag. That's how I usually just
See
drop
what happens
things
if I
in.
click files, yeah,
Okay,
I could pull up a file and upload it, it looks
oh,
like.
okay, good.
So I think we all have access.
You can throw all kinds of good stuff in there.
Be appropriate.
As long as they're not pictures.
Yeah. Concom related things only, please.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, so I think this at least gives me a jumping off point. I don't know if there's anything else you guys wanna talk about specifically tonight, but I think the jurisdiction is one of the biggest things that we have to come to agreement with. What I can do for the next meeting is kind of, use kind of the culmination of drafts that we've had with the MACC draft and just other bylaws and regs that we found, start to kind of, I hate to say like draft a new one, but just kind of
Put it together.
Start a draft,
fresh. Yeah.
Start a draft.
fresh,
that's the only way to go.
so that we are all, oh my God, we're all looking at the same thing.
Mhm.
This is what the current thing is and it doesn't get too confusing. So, pulling from everywhere we can. So I'll take what we've talked about tonight in terms of jurisdiction. And then, we can start to flesh out the administrative things. I think a lot of the exemption aspects, especially for agriculture, will remain. I'm very for that. I don't wanna be taking that away in this town. I don't know about anyone else.
That's in here.
Yeah, about taking it away or leaving it in as an exemption.
This is Peter's version, he said exceptions shall not apply under the article. So
Okay,
provided, he's saying they don't, the exemptions in the act do not
do not apply.
which I disagree with. I think we should have,
We could pick and choose, yeah.
replace them in an existing utilities type, the same exemptions.
Right, as long as you're not enlarging,
Is that the way it was written, that like minor activities wouldn't be exempt?
I guess, yeah.
don't
I feel
remember
like we went around so many times.
Yeah,
That that's what it's like, let's just start new.
yeah,
We'll make our own sections.
Yeah, I
Um,
like the,
I think a lot of the exemptions for minor activities are pretty fair, personally.
I mean, please, cause building permits would get so much more difficult. For the one sonotube
Right,
at the 80-foot mark. It's like,
just to
just,
put a shed in.
yes,
Come on. It's just a
I'm like,
shed.
just put a wattle down, please, you're good.
Yeah,
Okay, alright, so we have, I think it's 3 weeks till our next meeting, so that gives me a little bit of time. Any updates I have kind of in the intermediary, I'll send to Tamika to forward out or I'll keep it updated in that drive box, or the SharePoint folder. Is there anything specific you guys wanna bring up else for tonight on bylaw?
so we go in, can you just tell us again where the file is?
It is under the SharePoint. There's a folder specifically called Bylaw and Regs. On just like the
right on the main
homepage.
page, yeah.
Actually, I'll pin it to the top.
Bylaw and regs folder?
Yep.
Now, do you want me to put just the language from like the vernal pool section or the waiver section, or do you want the whole bylaw put in there?
I put the Holden bylaw in there. Will you just make sure the reg one I found was correct? Cause that's the one that,
Yeah, it was April 2020 was our up.
no, so I don't
Updated
have
reg.
that, so I just need the updated regs.
Okay.
I mean, if you wanna make like a separate Word doc and pull out specific things that you like, just label it like
Yeah, cause if it's,
Glenda notes.
so if it's in Word, then you can just copy and paste.
Yeah, exactly. And same goes for everyone. If there's something that you like specifically, upload it to that folder with your name and notes or whatever. So then that
Okay.
way, you know, none of us don't comment on each other's documents, but at least we can look at them, you know, and
So
discuss
we'll have it
them.
all in one place.
Yeah, at the next meeting. And if we say, oh, I saw that in Tim's, go copy and paste that, then we could search
Yeah.
at it.
So
Okay.
what about like when should we have a final draft
You're
prepared?
not gonna have it ready for this town meeting.
I know, Tamika, are you still around?
It's not till May, yeah.
I know, what was our timeline that you mentioned last time?
So I think we were looking to hopefully have a public hearing sometime in mid to late February. Hopefully jointly with the bylaw committee, and then I believe the warrant will open up sometime in late March, early April.
Okay.
So mid-February to end, we'll meet with the bylaw committee.
Maybe.
Yeah, so it would be a public hearing, so it would be an opportunity for residents to come, you know, ask questions or provide feedback.
And would we need a final draft for that or just,
No, we would need something to, we'd want something to submit to town council. So even if it's initial, just something to kind of have them give us a framework of, you know, yes, you're in the right direction. These are the things you guys have to go back to the drawing board for.
okay,
I mean, if it ends up being that we can't get it for May, it's not the end of the world. I just know that that was a hope of some members of the select board, but if it doesn't work out, then we'll figure something else out.
okay.
I think we could have something by the mid-February, a draft, don't you guys?
I think we could.
End of February?
I just wanna make sure it's good enough
Yeah.
because
We want it to be substantially complete, like,
I also get nervous that by the end of March, I'll be gone for
Yeah.
a slight amount of time.
The baby's coming.
The baby's coming.
that's why we should have it pretty much formulated. Let's give ourselves a deadline. If we don't give ourselves a deadline, I'll be lazy. I don't know about y'all.
Alright, so we meet,
Meet with bylaw committee and then it goes to town council.
alright, so February 4th, that is like obviously it's the beginning of February.
Tamika, when are their bylaw meetings? Bylaw committee meetings?
So they usually meet once a month on a Thursday evening, but they are pretty flexible. So I was going to see if maybe there was a possibility that they could host like a joint meeting with you on a regularly scheduled meeting night for you guys, so that you can be available to answer any technical questions that residents may have, but also making sure that they're still included in the process since it's considered a general bylaw.
Okay.
That'd be good.
I mean, I think realistically, if they'd even be willing to do like March 4th, which is past February, but would give us 4
We
meetings.
still would have time.
Yeah. I think that gives us a little bit better of an ability to put together a more cohesive
Yeah.
Yeah.
document. I just don't want us to feel rushed, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
want the residents to be like,
It takes time with town council and it's gonna
Yeah.
take time with the planning board, cause they're not gonna sit there and say, yeah, that's okay, guys. No, they're gonna wanna
don't
take
think-
it and examine
does
it.
planning have to?
Nope, it's not a zoning
not a
bylaw. So
zoning
the
bylaw.
planning,
I mean,
yeah, the planning
bylaw
board doesn't have any
sorry.
say.
Bylaw committee,
Sorry, I
yeah,
lost
okay.
my head. Bylaw committee
Okay.
is what I'm talking about.
That's fair.
What powers do they have?
Recommend, I don't know. Do they have a?
Glenda, so the bylaw committee does have a bylaw, and it stipulates, you know, what their responsibilities are.
I bet you they wrote it too.
So ironically, they did not, because their committee was not formed until after the bylaw was passed.
Really?
Yep, so it was the ad hoc bylaw committee that wrote the bylaw committee's bylaw. And then last February, when we had a special town meeting and passed all the general bylaw amendments, after that, the ad hoc bylaw committee was dissolved and the new bylaw committee was appointed.
Oh, and what do they do specifically?
So their focus is on the general bylaws. So they work to amend or review revisions of the bylaws that are brought forward. And then they also work to draft new bylaws. So like they'll work with Weston and Sampson on the stormwater bylaw. If we ever pass CPA, they would do like the CPA bylaw, all that good stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you for that information.
To keep us
You're
honest.
welcome.
She knows all.
She does, it's scary.
I'm kind of just a municipal nerd. I love this stuff.
Sickening,
Municipal nerd.
as I say that, yeah, okay. Alright, well, I think without having something kind of more in front of us, I
Yeah.
think that's all that I have for tonight. I don't know if anyone
Yeah.
else does.
I mean,
One of the-
we have Christmas break.
Now, what happens if there's maybe an amendment? I mean, is that even possible to the WPA? I mean, I'm guessing they might, something could change there.
The
Would
new
that- would that
regs.
affect our bylaw?
That's a really good
If
question.
something changes
Sure,
at that level?
I mean, if there's something that comes in conflict,
Has there been any amendments?
there's an amendment proposed right now, revisions, I mean, I think, but the revisions are more to stormwater for the most part.
Yeah.
So in any circumstance in which the bylaw and the WPA conflict, the WPA prevails.
Right.
So we can only be more
You have to put
strict.
that in there.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
a
Standard
standard
language.
whatever,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
The home rule
Um,
language or whatever.
I mean, and it's, yeah, cause like WPA moves so slowly that we'll see if that ever gets amended.
The last time it was amended, was it 2008? I think when they
Or did they do
updated the
something in
handbook.
14?
Maybe, I can't
But yeah.
remember. Yeah, most of the recent suggested updates are all stormwater related.
Stormwater and the
Yeah,
engineers.
it's all in line with the new handbook and there were some other regulation updates proposed, but those are other CMR sections.
I would say the majority of bylaws have started to focus more on the like climate resiliency aspect with like habitat and trees and, you know, flooding, but it's, while the WPA still sticks to a pretty regulatory aspect, like the stormwater standards are different, but they still have stayed pretty far away from any of the endangered species or habitat stuff for the most
Yeah.
part. But yeah, no, if something were to ever conflict, then WPA always prevails and then we would just have to do an amendment to fix it at some point. Or else
Good
they'll
question.
bring us to court or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Alright, any other questions
I wanna
for
go back
tonight?
just real quick to what we were talking about with vernal pools, so were we thinking of adopting the language from Holden?
I don't know.
Not necessarily.
Okay,
I think I'd at least
I
want
just-
the 100.
yeah,
I wanna just put it in there so we have the option,
okay.
if you guys want.
I like the idea of a buffer zone around vernal
Yeah.
pools. I think having the limits of the vernal pool
Be 100.
be 100 feet off the mean high water, to me, that feels a little
that's-
excessive.
Yeah, that's very, never mind a little, come on, be realistic.
Little,
That's
I'll do a
very-
little.
That's
You could do-
very,
I mean, you could do 50 from the vernal pool out 50 feet, and that's the vernal pool resource area. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be 100. And I didn't write the bylaw, I wasn't here. I had nothing to do with it.
You just implement it.
We did some regulation changes, but that was it.
Yeah, cause I can put together like, you know, in certain sections, like vernal pools, a couple options,
Yeah,
you know, for
We
us
can
to
talk
think
about
through, right, just to
Yeah.
jump off from.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from anyone here? From Brian? Anything else?
And how often do you guys run into vernal pools in Rutland?
motion adjourned.
Do you have a lot of them?
Yes and no.
We've got quite a few.
Yeah. I think there's just not a lot of certified ones.
Hmm.
Certifiable? Absolutely. Alright, I heard a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? There is. All those in favor by roll call?
Oh my god, Skip,
Ian and I,
Glenda?
Williams and I.
Chancelucci, aye.
Brian?
York and I.
Dan's aye. We are adjourned 7:20.